Lindsay, why don't we get started then?
Sounds good. Hop to the agenda page.
No, I'm sorry. Go through the order you have them, and
Okay.
what is that the first slide?
What?
Yeah. Okay. So go to the next slide. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right. So let's get started. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rick Usher, Assistant City Manager at the City of Kansas City, Missouri, and the meeting facilitator this month. So thanks for joining. And this we always put up is the mission and vision of the coalition. The vision being that every citizen and household in the Kansas City metropolitan area have access to the internet, the equipment needed to use it, and the skills needed to take advantage. The mission of our organization is to facilitate collaboration among organizations and initiatives. We're going to bridge the digital divide in order to maximize resources for the greatest impact. Next slide. We are on social media. The Twitter account listed here include KC, Facebook page, and the YouTube channel. And so these sessions, and I will let everyone know that the session is being recorded. So if you want to leave your camera off, or however you want to participate, just please know that the session is recorded and will be posted on the Coalition YouTube channel. And that YouTube channel is include KC, so that is something to look for. And Lindsay, I'm sure will tweet that out for us and share on the Facebook page when we're through. So I mentioned I'm a steering council member. Our chair is Carrie Coogan, Aaron Deacon with KC Digital Drive, Tom Esselman, Ina Montgomery, and I are our steering council members. And we've had this up now for a few months. It's been pretty popular, so feel free to join. Membership is free. We do list your name or your company or your organization's name on the Digital Inclusion KC website, and it's an online form, easy to fill out. Yeah, thank you for joining and continuing to participate. So this morning's agenda, I've kind of split it up a bit. We usually do welcome and introductions first, but Mr. Deacon has a pressing meeting here coming up, and we do want an update on the Internet Assistance Program that he's implemented through KC Digital Drive. And then also he'll give us an update on the Johnson County Digital Access Strike Team program that has been undergoing there in Johnson County with CARES Act dollars the county received. And then, so like I say, we'll do introductions when Aaron and Leslie have completed, and we'll give everyone time there to introduce themselves and then tell us a bit about what they're working on right now, and we'll do some project program sharing. So Aaron, if you are prepared, then welcome.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate the opportunity. So we are still up and running. We did close out with the county, and we're able to get all of our obligations completed under the CARES Act fund, even though CARES Act dollars are technically allowed to be spent now through the end of this year. The county, Johnson County, like many other jurisdictions, wanted to get all their internal books wrapped up because they'd been really crushing to get that done by the end of the year. So we were able to get all of that money out of the county. Part of the way that we set this up means that we're not cutting all the Johnson County families off. So we still are taking applicants, and we're still processing people that are enrolled in the program. Metro wide, we have enrolled 1,008 families. As of last time I checked, the amount of sort of financial commitment to each family ranges anywhere from $60 or $75 for people who have a really low cost package, up to we've paid out the full 675 to some families, especially those who have big arrears payments. And honestly, there are some that we haven't been able to pay. I mean, I've seen $2,000 Comcast bills that have come through that are, a series of arrears payments and, lost equipment and moves and things like that. So it's been really interesting. In terms of the distribution, I'd say I don't have all of the numbers right at hand, but I think it's about 250 or so that are not in Johnson County. The vast majority of those are in Jackson County. I think it's around 190, and around 750, 800 Johnson County families. We expect over time that to balance out a little bit more. We put a lot of effort into recruiting those Johnson County families. A number of them came in through Shawnee Mission Schools and Olathe Schools. We worked with Jewish Family Services, as well as with PCs for People. So as we continue to move forward on this piece of the program, there are a few things that we're looking at for the current year. So one, we've still got the navigators in place and the intake form up, and continue to take in new applicants. Although frankly, at this point, because we pushed so hard to bring so many people in so quickly, we're not hungry for more applicants right now. We are happy to take anyone who's out there. We're probably getting maybe 10 or 15 a day, but really want to start building out the process how we streamline those folks. Just to get into the weeds a little bit. I mean, each of the recipients is assigned a debit card. They're not actually mailed a debit card, but they're assigned a debit card number, and we are uploading funds on a timely basis so they can keep paying their bills. And some of those people are switching providers and services. So there's a whole bunch of things that are different. I mean, it's one thing to get everyone set up and kind of ready to go, but then as we service people ongoing, there's a number of pretty interesting opportunities. I mean, one is just to help them navigate their bill and their package. Another is going to be to help align them with other resources in the community that they need, whether it be a computer or classes or working with the library's digital navigator program. So that's all kind of how we see this playing out in the future. We do think there may be an opportunity, even though Johnson County spent out all their CARES Act money, there are other jurisdictions that may not have. So whether it's from CARES Act, also working on following up with the Recovery Fund, gave a report out to Marlene and Rachel Russell this morning to figure out how to keep that going. So that is the Internet Access Support Program side of the Strike Force report. Leslie, I don't know if you're on. Is there anything else, if you are, that you want to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say, there are some people who reported that they were not currently connected. And so we're also working with those folks to try to help them select a provider. And we have a tool we use to determine what's available at their address. And then we can communicate that to them. And it's up to them to, contact the provider and make the choice that they think is right for them. So that's also something that, is more hands-on and takes some time to help people through.
Aaron
great
and
call.
Leslie, there's a question from Tamara about asking about any other demographics of the families served. So if you could go into what like income qualifications there are for the program, and that'd be useful information.
Yeah, so to qualify for the program, you've got to be at 200% of the federal poverty level or below, and have a COVID-related hardship, financial hardship over the past, year, are the basic qualifications. I don't have handy a demographic breakdown of the families we served, and I don't know that we've asked a ton of detailed demographic info, but we do have some information on whether they're using it for distance learning or telework, or access to basic services. The vast majority, I mean, most people use it for everything. not a huge surprise.
Right.
Anything else that you want to add, or Tamara, any other questions that you're looking for, or does that answer what you're trying to get at?
I was really just wanting to know more about either the poverty level or the racial makeup or just the single mom household, just the traditional points that we look for when we offer services.
Got it. Yeah. So that poverty level is the threshold. Do you know, Leslie, if we've if we know things like breakdown by race or ethnicity?
No, I mean, the only thing that we could use to determine some of that is the number of people who chose to answer our form in Spanish. But other than that, no, we wouldn't have any other breakdown.
I mean, we do get some other things like we do get household size, I think, for many of the people.
Yeah, we've gotten household size for anyone who has gone through the conventional qualification process. We didn't ask that for our school district families. So we do know the household size for those who qualified that conventional way. We do know where they live. So, you know, there's some ability for us to sort of extrapolate from that. But I can tell you that there are people applying for this program who've never, ever, ever applied for any kind of assistance before in their life. This is all a brand new world for a lot of people.
Can you tell me again why there are so many Johnson County families versus Jackson County families?
Because that's where the money came from, the vast majority of it.
Yeah, Aaron,
was-
if you could like talk about that split of the funding.
So the Johnson County CARES Act Task Force put a group together with a focus on digital inclusion in August of last year. This was spread across 3 different work groups. There was another one on housing, I think another one on maybe healthcare and human services, another one on workforce. And the whole group, it was maybe 100 and some people, were charged with coming up with how to spend $35 million of CARES Act money. Out of that, the Digital Access Strike Force, or Digital Equity Strike Force, ended up getting allocated between $1.5 and $2 million spread across a handful of different areas. One of those was for direct support for households for internet. That was a total of about $550,000 allocated, and that is what has supported the 800 or so families from Johnson County. And so we also had a deadline on that as we set the program up to really make sure that we were able to identify, find, qualify those families and get them funded. So the sort of nice regional benefit for that was that it also really allowed us to build up the program. So even though that the money that was allocated there to serve the households directly had to go to Johnson County households, the money to support the program helped us, in conjunction with the money coming out of the CARES Act fund, to be able to support families across the metro and to be able to build up a program that would stick around. A lot of these CARES Act spending programs were, hey, let's get the money out the door and then get back to what we were doing before. And the program fades away. We wanted to make sure that didn't happen. So we've got a program that is ongoing. Another piece of the funds was for devices, and PCs for People was the partner on that. We held 2 big giveaway events in December. One at the Central Resource Library in Johnson County, and the other one at Shawnee Mission North. Actually, no, at Shawnee Mission West High School, I think. Between the two of those, I think we qualified 200 or 250 people. And we're able to provide devices. And I think the total number of computers, both desktops and laptops, that PCs for People provided to Johnson County families during the grant period was somewhere between 250 and 300. I don't know, Tom or John Fitzpatrick, if you have a closer number on that. I'm not sure if Tom's on or not, but so that was a second piece of the Johnson County digital access strike force. A third piece was the upcycling. So PCs for People has been doing computer upcycling for Kansas City, Missouri. Having the government as a client for a number of years, we finally were able to get Johnson County as a client for PCs for People there. So there was some money that went to PCs for People to help. I think they took maybe 2 or 3 shiploads of equipment from Johnson County, and we're able to put that back into the pipeline. So that was the third piece. The fourth and fifth things, I don't know that we've talked about much on this call. And I've got some work to do in terms of the report out and kind of how these things ended up playing out. But one was actually building out some fiber infrastructure. It was in Southwest Johnson County, heading out to DeSoto, along, I can't remember the streets, maybe 95th to 105th, along Kill Creek Road and another parallel road, Waverly or something like that. It ended up being 2 or 3 miles of fiber. RG Fiber and Zoom are household ISPs that serve that part of the county, but just didn't have the underlying infrastructure to bring high-speed connections. So that was around $350,000 or $400,000, I think, that funded that hard infrastructure. Part of our, some of the reporting that we've still got to do is to, understand now how many households have access that didn't, and how many have signed up. Some of those I know we did some work with the DeSoto and the Gardner-Edgerton school districts, and there are some families out there that then qualify using that infrastructure for the Internet Access Support Program. So that's kind of cool. And then,
can I
yes.
jump in real quick? I will tell you that we do that when those funds are appropriated. There are 2 subdivisions in that area that have both RG and Zoom on the house. So it was overbuilt. So sometimes we've got to, if we can, make sure that when those funds are distributed, that we don't overbuild an area where other areas don't actually have it.
Yeah, I mean, we worked with Zoom. I mean, this was, I know Kevin Hanemichael with BHC Roads was on the force, and he was kind of championing this project, and he worked with Zoom and RG to figure out where they didn't. So this was new, I believe.
Yeah, actually, Kevin has fiber nodes on the side of his house, one from RG and one from Zoom. And then there's that whole subdivision. So we just need to be careful with our funds, spending the funds that they're spent correctly.
Well, and this money didn't pay for the last mile. It paid for a trunk that wasn't there.
My understanding is that it was a requirement that they service these subdivisions. And so basically that was part of the Johnson County award, was that they had to service those 2 subdivisions, and they both got money, and so they both are servicing them.
Well, we can talk about that offline. But yeah, no, I appreciate you raising that. The last thing that was allocated, and this I have the least visibility to how this played out. There was money for the Johnson County Library to staff up their digital navigator workforce. They have people who have been providing tech support by phone and in person. They added some capacity there, but after that was awarded, and as they started to build out, they didn't want to build up a whole lot of, there were, I think, a few $100,000 allocated for that. And there was some concern about investing too heavily in that just, for a 2 or 3 month period, which is what it ended up being, maybe a little bit less than that by the time the funds were available. So one of the things that they did was divert some of that into some digital inclusion survey work. And we're working with the library, or getting ready to work with the library, to overlay that on some of the information that we've gleaned from all of the household level work, And that's kind of part of our ongoing work with the county will be to understand what the landscape looks like in terms of infrastructure and adoption in a way that we haven't been able to yet. And again, from our point of view, we think there is an opportunity to take the model there and do it region wide. One last thing that wasn't explicitly written into the grant, but is also part of our work plan, is a work with the different jurisdictions, and particularly working with Johnson County, Wyandotte County, and KCMO on a regional fiber mapping infrastructure, so that we can look at the underlying infrastructure, both public owned and private owned to the extent that we have it, as well as where how we can look at household level data, both the connectivity information that we've learned through the Internet Access Support Program, as well as other third-party data. We've been working with our planning team and some of the engineers at Black and Veatch on a proposal. So it's still fairly early stage on that in terms of executing on it, but a lot of excitement around it and cooperation by the partners. So sorry that took longer than I expected, but I'm glad you put us first, Rick, so that we had time to get through it.
Aaron, I don't know that you mentioned the funding for the internet assistance that came from the COVID relief fund that's available metro-wide. So and that's where the Jackson County
Yes.
residents are being. Was that 250,000? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's been the challenge, Tamara. Back to your question of, why so many Johnson County residents, where we know from the KC Connectivity report that My Sidewalk did that the digital divide in Johnson County is about 6% of the households. Jackson County, being the whole county, it's 17% of households, about 3 times the need. And unfortunately, we haven't had any response from Jackson County that would address this need. There is this 250,000 that came from the local fund that's available metro-wide. So really that's more spread across, is that 17 counties? That might be
It's 9 counties, Rick.
across 9 counties. Okay. Okay.
One other last comment that I'd make, especially because I know we've got some of the providers on the call, and I'll be following up with y'all at some point. I don't want to overpromise when that'll be, but we've had some questions about which providers are participating, and the way that we've set this up, it's really provider agnostic. So we have served, I'd say the majority of our customers have been Spectrum, Xfinity, AT&T, and Google Fiber. But we've had some CenturyLink, we've had some Earthlink, we've had some PCs for People hotspot customers. There are some T-Mobile and Verizon hotspots that we've been supporting. So the design of this is to really, keep the power of choice in the consumer's hands. I do think, there are, as we've helped these customers navigate the relationships with their various providers, some opportunities where we could probably improve the process, both for ourselves and for the customers, with a little bit of provider cooperation. So again, as I get a better handle on what that looks like, and it's a little bit different for each of you, I'll be reaching out to see if we can figure that out. But would welcome additional participation and engagement. I think on the provider side, I think it's an exciting opportunity to help serve your customers, and so look for that coming up over the next weeks or months.
Right. Okay, so Aaron's got 5 more minutes or so. Any other questions for Aaron while we have him?
Yes, this is Tamara again. Could you give me one more time how much money of the CARES Act you got for this project relative to the $250,000 that I heard that Jackson County got?
So the COVID relief fund, the recovery fund that's managed by the Community Foundation and includes Mark, Lisk, one or two, United Way, I think maybe are the main ones. They allocated $250,000. The Johnson County CARES Act funds allocated roughly, I don't remember the exact number, something like 1.5 to 2 million for digital equity overall. And of that, 1 million was for the internet access support and the device and the computer upcycling.
Yeah, and so the 250 again is spread over 9 counties, and the 550 that Johnson County allocated is strictly for Johnson County because that's the jurisdiction that received the CARES Act funding.
Okay, so I probably just need to talk offline with someone to
Yeah,
figure out what we need to do different.
yeah, and if you're staying on the session here, we'll talk more about that in the policy document conversation, and then in the this piece about commenting to the FCC's youth allocation of the emergency relief funds for internet services.
Yeah, and Tamara, I'm happy to talk to you. I'm not quite sure where you're. I mean, I obviously am well aware of the disparity that you're observing and probably wondering about. I don't know if you have specific solutions or tactics in mind to address it, but absolutely happy to talk to you offline, or Leslie, I'm sure would too, because I do think there's a lot of opportunities, and the more that we can get members of the community mobilized to help advance that, I think the better off we'll be.
And I would just say, that while obviously there's a need in Jackson County and beyond, the people we did serve in Johnson County did qualify. They qualified for free or reduced cost lunch. So it's not as if we were just finding people and providing them with funds. They did have a documented need. So, there are poor people in Johnson County too.
Absolutely. We just need to be able to. Rick, you're muted.
Thank you. You'd think after 9 months I would have learned this lesson. So I was saying, last call for questions for Aaron. So if anybody has some before he goes here, Leslie will still be with us through the call, but.
Yeah, and I answered a question in chat about the Spanish language. It is pretty small, but I think that there's definitely an opportunity for us to reach Spanish speaking people who need help. The unfortunate thing is we lost the person who spoke Spanish, who was a navigator, and so we're trying our best to serve people through Google Translate, but as everyone knows, that's not ideal. And so we're hopeful that our Spanish speaking clients provide us with a little bit of grace when they get something that's like not quite right. We're doing our best.
And one quick plug before I leave for next month, because I don't know for sure. I know, Carrie, we were on an email on this, but it's been a little while, and we've only got a couple of weeks for next month. I do think we have Tim Arbeiter and Stanley Adams lined up as presenters for our coalition meeting next month. They lead respectively the broadband initiative statewide for Missouri and Kansas, and have a lot of exciting initiatives that they'll be working on. So a plug for our February meeting.
Yeah, that's right. You're exactly right, Aaron, and that's set up. So we can even, if we want to solicit questions ahead of time, we can do that as well.
It's a great idea. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
All right,
Aaron.
thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. Aaron. Okay, so let's do introductions now. I'll just scroll through. We've got 39, had 41 folks here a minute ago. So we can take maybe 15 minutes or so to try to get through. So we do want to hear, of course, introduce yourself and tell us the organization you're with, and then maybe a highlight of a digital equity or digital inclusion project you've got information for. So DJ, you're I'm looking at my list here, so if you want to say hi.
I'll get off mute there. Okay. But we all do that, Rick. So DJ Good, and I'm with LK Communications and Alero Telecom. And we're doing filling donut holes and expanding edges for communities around the nation and around the world. We've got a large project in Kenya that if it wasn't for COVID, I'd probably be in Kenya right now. So, but I'm here in Kansas City, so trying to help. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Tamara?
Hello, good morning again. I'm Tamara Sykes. I am the Executive Director at the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. And what we have going on right now is really just trying to maintain afloat in this pandemic by reaching out to community professionals to be volunteers, to mentor and tutor 1st through 12th graders. And we're also trying to reach those 1st through 12th graders and their families to participate in our program.
All right, thank you. Carrie?
Hi, Rick. Hi, everybody. Carrie Coogan. I'm Deputy Director for the Kansas City Public Library. I also serve on the steering council for the Kansas City Coalition for Digital Inclusion. We've got a lot of great initiatives going on here at the library, and I'll let some of the other staff who's on the call talk about those. But one of the things I'm really focused on, as Rick and Aaron have already mentioned, is trying to figure out some of these national initiatives and stimulus packages that are happening and how the coalition can capitalize on some funding that's going to become available, not just now, but really I think that we're going to see more of a steady stream of funding coming throughout the next couple of years. So finding the best way for our community to really take advantage of that and make a real impact. So thanks for being here.
Sure, sure. Lindsay?
Hey everyone, I'm Lindsay. I'm the outreach coordinator for the Kansas City Coalition for Digital Inclusion. A lot of the emails you see are from me, or if not all, as well as the social media posts. So you've probably heard from me a lot without knowing about it.
All right, all right. Joe Robertson?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Joe Robertson with the Local Investment Commission, LINC. And we work through several school districts, and we work in these neighborhoods, and we try to do everything we can to support and help them, including supporting the work of this group.
All right, thanks, Joe. Megan?
Yeah, had to make sure I was off mute there. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan McNaughton. I'm the Tech Access Coordinator at the Kansas City Public Library. Lindsay and I work on the same team. And right now I'm just working on implementing a device checkout program for some of our community partners with an emphasis on some senior and older folks in the Kansas City area so that they can have access to hotspots and laptops.
Thank you. Tanya?
Hi there, I'm Tanya Voigt, and I'm the zoning director here at Douglas County. And Jill Jolliker works for Douglas County, and she so graciously provided your guys' information to me. Douglas County has a rather high unincorporated population of people that live in the rural areas, and we are having some pretty kind of extreme issues with kids that are remote learning currently right now and do not have any access to internet. And that is not necessarily a income issue. It's more that there are no internet providers to be able to provide internet to a lot of our areas. And so we are just trying to explore options. Like our library right now, they are checking out hotspots, but unfortunately the hotspots are not the cell companies that can provide service in the rural area. So they're not working for the rural property owners. So we just have quite a few just things to get through to try to get internet out to the people that are not in the city limits.
All right, thank you and welcome. Rachel?
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Olhausen. I work with Jewish Family Services. I supervise some of our older adult programs. And during the pandemic, we started Tech Connect, and we've been getting tablets and internet out to older adults who have never had access to that before. And we've also been implementing a pilot teaching program for 10 weeks to teach them the basics of how to use the internet, how to use their tablet. you can imagine the highs and lows. We've gotten everything from super successful, somebody's reconnected with her church and facilitating classes again, which is great. And then we've also got people who get the tablet and then say, actually, I think Wi-Fi impacts my health and I don't want this. So lots and lots of highs and lows, but we've always been part of aging infrastructure. And so we're looking at this as long-term, and we're really hoping that we can provide some basic digital education and access along with our social work, transportation, and home maintenance programs.
All right, thank you. Troy Wilson?
Yeah, hi, I'm Troy Wilson. I work with Alero Telecom with DJ, and yeah, we basically go out and try to help provide internet access, high-speed internet access to rural areas and help areas that are underserved and kind of fill those gaps where a lot of providers won't go. That's exactly what we do.
All right, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Ron, hello, Ron.
Hello, I'm Ron Green with Digistory KC. Two things we have going on right now that will serve the digital divide. One is our program has been invited to provide the digital media training at the Ignition Lab. That's the muffler shop across the street from Operation Breakthrough that Travis Kelsey has purchased, and it will become a STEM training area for area teens. We're excited about that. Also, as with many other STEM-based training organizations around Kansas City, we're preparing now for Remake Learning Days, which will be a citywide series of STEM training, STEM events for area teens and students that runs from May 1st to May 10th. So watch for more coming on that front.
All right,
Good
thanks,
to see
Ron.
you all.
I'm excited about that Ignition Lab, so I'll catch up with you on that too. John Fitzpatrick.
Thanks, Rick. I'm John Fitzpatrick. I'm with KC Digital Drive, or at least that's my main affiliation for the purposes of this group. And I helped organize some of the Internet Access Support Program with Leslie and Aaron, and had the honor of conducting the PC distributions along with PCs for People and their great team. Currently, I'm kicking off a project for digital equity for community health workers, and we'll have kind of a soft kickoff on that on Tuesday and have the team formed before the end of the month, and activities going before the end of the month on that project. Some of you may receive a contact from me in that respect.
Yeah, thank you. Dravel Taylor.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dravel Taylor. I work at Douglas County Zoning and Codes alongside Tanya Voigt. I'm the zoning specialist over here. So we're just trying to tackle this issue with getting some providers in the unincorporated Douglas County.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Jeremy Hagley.
Good morning, everyone. Jeremy Higley with the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City. I work in community development. Locally, we've been working since the pandemic started to encourage other employers to join us as an employer in donating surplus computers to groups like PCs for People. Our goal when we launched it in April of 2019 was to get 5,000 donations in 12 months. And in 8 months, we ended the year with a little over 5,500 donations. So really happy with that. That was a national campaign, though a large chunk of those 5,000 were in Kansas City. So, and then more broadly speaking, I've been working on the policy front in partnership with the National Telecommunications and Information Administration and hosting forums for state broadband directors such as Stanley Adams and Tim Arbiter in Missouri to help them better implement policies around distribution of broadband funds in a way that best supports the community.
Thanks, Jeremy. Ina Montgomery.
Morning, everybody. I'm Ina Montgomery of Urban Tech. I work to help close the digital literacy divide. In December, I had an opportunity to do a virtual event to introduce high school students, grades 9 through 12, to different types of technology. We had about 90 students registered, and I'm looking to do the same thing in April for middle school students. Look forward to working with some of you guys, hopefully this year. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Ina. Dave LaCrone.
Hey, thanks, Rick. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dave LaCrone. I'm the digital branch manager at the Kansas City Public Library. Do a lot of things in the digital inclusion space. The project I've been most closely associated with is our Internet to Go hotspot lending program that we ramped up, I believe, over the summer. We're now circulating 185 mobile hotspots from our locations that are holdable and can be picked up contact-free at any of our locations that are open.
All right, thank you. Rachel Merlot.
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. I'm Rachel Merlot with Google Fiber, and we provide reliable high-speed internet to 21 municipalities across the metro. Had the opportunity to work with many of the organizations on this call today and look forward to continuing that into 2021.
All right, thank you. Jenny Williamson, I don't know if I've already, but Jenny? Oh, you're muted.
I think I've figured that out by now. I'm Jenny Williams, and I'm with the Kansas City Public Library. I'm the virtual service program coordinator. And right now we are working, one of many things that we're doing is that we're working on hopefully a community out hotline service to direct community and patrons to different resources. And we have the Missouri Broadband Resource Rail, and I don't know if our other resource folks are on this call, but I will drop the link down in the chat box. So if you haven't already made a profile, you want to be included, would love it if you could do that as soon as you can. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. Yeah, if you put the link there, we've been pushing that, and Tony Lapino is on the call from UMKC, and maybe some others that are working on that Missouri Broadband Resource Rail. But that's going to be, I think, an amazing component of the Digital Navigator program. Megan Moore, I can't read the whole last name. Have you introduced yourself already?
I have not.
Okay.
The other Megan. It's Megan Morse. I am the program analyst at HEDC, the Hispanic Economic Development Corporation. And as far as digital inclusion goes, I think our biggest activity is that we help adult learners, primarily Spanish-speaking immigrants and refugees, to gain the basic computing skills that a lot of us who grew up in the first world take for granted. So that's our focus.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Wendy Pearson.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm sorry I can't get my camera to work, but I'm here. Wendy Pearson, Kansas City Public Library. You've already heard from a few of our team members. We, like Jenny said, have a lot of things going on right now. Most excitedly, the hotline project. We're finalizing our vendor selection and hoping to get that up and running and going live later this month or early February. And we're also very excited to kick off the marketing campaign. So mid to late February, you'll notice on some buses and inside the buses, we'll have some ads.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Well, good morning. My name is Jennifer McLaughlin. I'm a community engagement manager for Unite Us, and we have kicked off work on our statewide initiatives, Unite Missouri and Unite Kansas. Those networks, they're referral networks. They are sponsored by Sync Health, which is a regional health information exchange. And our work is to connect healthcare and social services. Very aware there's much activity and discussion in our community in that space. Want you to know that Sync Health makes our technology platform available for no charge to community-based organizations. And this technology allows for community-based organizations to work together to serve shared clients, not to mention on digital inclusion, which is a very important component of social determinants, but also education, mental health, counseling, transportation, housing, all of these things that we need to work together to connect folks to these services. As well, the platform allows for collection of data, pretty extensive demographics, as well as both at the organizational level and the aggregate level. And I think that's it. If you have questions, let me know. We're just happy to be here to learn about this initiative and work with many organizations. So we're happy to be of support where we can. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Holly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Holly Everson Hayden. I'm with Verizon. I do local and municipal government relations work. I'm also the community manager for Verizon. So that's kind of 3 buckets. One is I help coordinate volunteer activities between organizations and Verizon employees. The second is I also coordinate any thought leadership opportunities. And finally, I am the local contact for the Verizon Foundation, which will open up for invites in the next month or 2. So excited to be at the meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Brian?
Yeah, I think that's me, right? Brian Gash?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Brian Gash. I'm with Mid-Continent Public Library. I'm the Chief Technology Officer there. And right now, like a lot of people, we're trying to figure out how to work in this new environment and get our services to be flexible. Like Kansas City Public, we're getting ready to roll out a hotspot lending program. And we have about 350 hotspots that we got through the CARES funding and a generous donation from Jackson County. And so we're getting ready to do that.
All right, cool. Hey, I like your artwork there too.
Oh, yeah. Got some old bikes on the wall. Yep.
All right. And then Brian Cavender, I think, did you try to get in there a second ago?
Hi, I'm also with Mid-Continent, so we got both of the Brians. I'm the Square One team. I work with career development, so I work in the role with a lot of people who are struggling economically, and a large part of that is the digital divide. So I work with people a lot to try and help them build those digital skills with more of a focus towards finding work, but also just wherever they need the help.
All right, thank you for joining us. Mike Lodwigan.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Hey, Mike Lodewigan. I'm with Spectrum. I'm responsible for government affairs here in the state of Missouri. As far as some of the things we've got going on, it's not very different from a lot of the folks on the call. We're trying to track what's going on with the federal money coming in and CARES Act and a lot of things going on there. We're trying to be active and participate in those programs as much as possible. And so far we've been fairly successful in around the country and trying to identify better opportunities for us to get involved with the ones in Kansas and Missouri.
All right, thank you. Darnell Bush. If you're talking, you're muted.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Now we got you. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. My name is Darnell Bush, and I'm the IT director at the Housing Authority of Kansas City. And the IT department, we strive to deliver the best improving technology services and computing for the public and for us inside the corporate offices. And we've had we gave out, I forgot how many computers, 20 I think, to our residents here for Christmas.
All right, that's great. That's great. We can help you with more. So good. Thanks for joining us. Tracy Rowland.
you.
You're muted. There you go.
This is Tracy. I'm with the City of Kansas City, Missouri Health Department. I'm the Digital Services Manager, and I am just interested in efforts that are being done with this group that I can communicate back to my leadership team and any ways that we can assist in that.
All right, thanks, Tracy. Hadiza?
Hello, good morning. I'm Hadiza Saadu. I am the Small Business and Nonprofit Specialist at Kansas City Public Library. And I am interested in learning about what other people are doing as far as digital skills. Right now, I'm working with Wendy and Megan on programming to help people build their digital skills with respect to owning a business and also finding employment.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Carmissa?
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Carnissa Caldwell, and I am with the Lean Lab. Right now, we are working with KCK to connect them with the app that will allow to get a needs assessment of what students have internet connection and what students still need that internet connection. On the Kansas City, Missouri side, we've released the fall connectivity report, and we're now working with PCs for People to get some of those needs answered. And I'll link our report in the chat.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Madeline Romeus.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Madeline Romeus, and I handle external and legislative affairs with AT&T and also Foundation. Excited to say that we will continue our work to try to, we're calling it changing barriers to opportunities and kind of leveling the playing field. We recently announced a $10 million contribution with Connected Nation to provide free internet connectivity and devices to underserved communities across the country. More close to home, what I'm very excited about is that our Believe Kansas City campaign, as are all the Believe campaigns across the country, are taking a hyper-local shift to digital divide. In past year, it was prevention of teenage suicide and economic empowerment. So with that, I hope to have a lot more great announcements to provide you all. More importantly, I hope to work in collaboration with you all. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Brent Lager.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. My name is Brent Lager with Uncover KC. We're managing the Digital Equity Task Force for the Coalition as we try to connect digital resources with the community out there. And yeah, just happy to hear about everyone's updates.
All right, thank you. Let's see. Got a phone number ending in 1752.
Yep, this is Melody Allen with Verizon. I work with Holly. I'm a business development manager and community engagement manager that supports Kansas and Missouri and Southern Illinois, and just looking to understand how Verizon can better support this initiative. I think it's a lot of great work that everybody is doing here, so I'm excited to join this team.
Okay, thanks so much. I think that might be everybody. If there's someone I missed, would you jump in and introduce yourself, please?
Well, you guys kind of met me before. This is Leslie and Scott, and I'm working with Aaron on the Internet Access Support Program with KC Digital Drive. And then I also have Reuseful, which is a website that matches people with stuff they no longer need with nonprofits that could use it, and that's free, and you can sign up at reuseful with 2 L's.org. So if anybody is in need of getting donations for computers or even new stuff, we allow organizations to drop their Amazon wish list link in there, as well as volunteering and cash donations pages. So we welcome everybody to join the, thank you for putting the link in the chat, join the Reuseful Charity Partners community. And the more the merrier there. We have 29 organizations now, and we're making some enhancements that should be ready in the next couple weeks. And we'll really be pushing it out to donors. So please join us.
All right, thank you, Leslie. Anyone else?
Mike Chambers.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, it's Mike Chambers with AT&T. I work with Madeline. My territory is Northwest Missouri. It includes Clay and Platte County in the Missouri metro area here. I've been really involved in a pretty aggressive macro site build out. We should have an announcement coming out soon talking about 40 plus towers that were built in last year, and that aggressive pace continues this year. So hopefully that will help some of that rural inability to connect issue. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And Becca, did I miss you?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Becca Rendell. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I coordinate the Library Vista project for the Kansas City Public Library. And so Lindsay and Elaine, who I think was on here earlier, are both AmeriCorps Vista members serving in our project. But if you are a 501c3 or a public organization in really Jackson County is our focus right now, and you want to host an AmeriCorps Vista member, feel free to reach out. I'll drop our Vista project email in the chat, and we're more than happy to connect you with that resource.
All right, thank you. Okay, is that everyone? All right, thank you. You know, I want to bring up the this Missouri Broadband Resource Rail because there's so much amazing stuff everyone is talking about here. We definitely want to make sure that your services are listed here. And there have been some concerns raised about the state of Missouri being named here. This was developed for the state of Missouri. It was developed by SourceLink, which if you're familiar with entrepreneur support, KC SourceLink is the Metro's. They have a resource rail there that supports entrepreneurship support across the region. So if you're in Kansas or Missouri, please add your information here. I think if Tony Lupino is still here with us, he'd asked me to kind of bring this up, but definitely get your services listed here. And sorry, what did I do there? Yeah, so anyway, wanted to plug that. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is this conversation about public policy for the coalition. And I've shared, I'm trying to pull it up again here, this, oh, now what the heck's going on? This thing is in the way. Let me stop sharing for a second, sorry. The draft document, and we're trying to shape this up into a document that can be shared with local civic leaders, political leaders, and congressional delegations as we move forward with, say, the next round of CARES Act funding or other initiatives. As you're hearing Aaron speak about the Internet Access Assistance Program, it got funding through a couple of sources, but he's really, as he pointed out, trying to build a sustainable program in there of internet support for low-income households across the region. So what we're seeing is, the pandemic has highlighted the digital divide as a real problem, of course, for distance learning, distance working, and participating in the digital economy. So this document, I've tried to narrow it down and pattern it after a few other public policy documents that I've seen. I did get some coaching, counseling from Jeff Jolly. Thank you, Jeff, for that. And trying to basically put it in a format like you see here, an action item type statement on the policy recommendation. And then there's, I've listed here on this first one, some bullet points on what we're doing locally and maybe nationally to support that already. So I've got this down now to, I think there's 9 or 10 on here. The Chamber of Commerce's public policy statement. This is what the chamber has put out right now. And so on the positive side, the chamber has a digital equity broadband policy statement on their agenda right now. And if you look at their agenda, I think it's like 4 pages, and they of course serve quite a number of needs with that. So it is good to have it here. But when you see it, it doesn't, in my opinion, I think go far enough to really talk about how we close the digital divide. The purpose of this document then would be so that we basically have shared talking points that we're putting out in the community, so that when, say, we can get Jackson County's attention, Wyandotte County, the Platte, Clay counties across the metro, or hopefully the next round of CARES funding will come directly to cities like Kansas City, Missouri. We had, if you recall, our population is just under 500,000. So we had to negotiate with the 4 counties that our city sits in to obtain funding. So I guess we could start the conversation first. And this first policy statement of supporting the Kansas City Coalition for Digital Inclusion as the regional organization facilitating public engagement and awareness of the benefits of the internet access and bridging the digital divide. I think as you see, if you're a regular attendee or if you're a new attendee, even through the introductions we just had, we've got broad membership across the region that is seeking to close the digital divide in a number of ways. So that's the first point. Does anyone have comments on these, or anyone else read through them that have something they'd like to talk about?
This is Rachel Olhausen. I meant to and got pulled in different directions, but I do want to go through here and make sure we talk about age-specific digital literacy. I think that it's just a challenge. I focus in aging and older adults and was really, really optimistic, and I still am optimistic, but it just takes so much more time. And we've been really clear through the pandemic that not having access to the internet and or the skills to utilize the internet has actually been a public health risk to our clients, because the people who don't have access therefore have to go out and put themselves at risk in order to conduct their activities that they need for living, like grocery shopping, banking, doctor's appointments. And there is just a gap also in socioeconomic status along with digital literacy. So I think I see that, and I can make some comments under the heading about just digital literacy and education. But I think that we need to also make sure that there's something specific to older adults. And there are a lot of older adult CBOs who aren't able to do that specifically because of limits in funding and staff and expertise.
Yeah, thank you. And I have number 4 highlighted here. Do you know Tom Esselman at PCs for People?
I do. We've partnered a little bit. Initially, we partnered on getting devices out to older adults, but we found that tablets might be easier than refurbished computers because we gave all the older adults the same platform to learn from, so we can facilitate group learning. And there's also there's 2 types of older adults. There are the folks who have never used the internet, and it's like a whole new world, and the concepts you really have to talk about. And then there are people who exited the workforce as we had our huge technology growth, and technology just got exponentially quicker and faster. And those folks at least understand the internet and email, but they just haven't had the means to keep up to date. So but yes, we we have partnered a little bit, and we ended up more partnering for our low-income families who access the food pantry and social work services. And for older adults, we ended up using newer tablets.
Okay, great. Yeah, because Tom's got some initiatives specifically going on for the aging. Okay, yeah, thank you. And so this, coming from the level of a policy statement, there's, larger conversation, we can have once we, say, work through this document of what like our work plan looks like. And the proposal that, Aaron and others responded to through the Johnson County Digital Access Strike Team, that gives us a nice roadmap for what we could do with this. I mean, one goal that I have personally is that we as a coalition start putting together, as Sherry Gonzalez at KC Rising has called them, like shovel-worthy projects or programs. So if we can, put some programs and partnerships together, and then say, this is the funding we're looking for in order to, increase our capacity and increase the number of folks that we're serving. That's really what, I'm hoping the result of this document would become. Does anyone have any comment on other of the points, or would it be useful for me to read through each of them and give you my take on them?
Rick, this is Jeremy Higley. I think it'd be helpful to hear your take. I know you've put a lot of work and effort into this, so.
Okay, I've talked a lot about it, so I'll try to be brief. But so one, I think, on supporting the coalition, as you look at how public policy is used across the Kansas City region, organizations like the Chamber that I've mentioned, Mid-America Regional Council, they have strong relationships already with congressional delegations and civic leaders. And so they know that landscape. What I'm hoping we can do with this is get some recognition that in this area of digital equity and digital access, this organization, we are the subject matter experts and really the program delivery mechanism for these larger issues. So that's why I've put this one here first. It may not be, say, the most important thing, but having this community that we do is an asset that, when you look around the country, not a lot of cities have that. And in fact, the National Digital Inclusion Alliance has, as you guys have seen, if you've been on these calls for a while, really highlighted the work that we're doing here. So the second one here, broadband internet access must be available and affordable to low-income households. This is, it sounds pretty straightforward, but this word broadband, there is a lot of meaning behind that and a lot of power for obtaining funding for internet service providers, wireless providers, to get funding through different FCC programs or other federal funding programs. So broadband, it's not like interchangeable with internet, with Wi-Fi, with access. Broadband has a specific meaning the FCC uses of 25 megabit download speeds and 3 megabit upload speeds. And so it's a service delivery threshold that, frankly, I believe is like not sufficient for distance learning and remote work, as we're seeing people run into in the pandemic. But as a policy statement, I'm just like suggesting we put broadband internet access, availability, affordability as a point, and then there are, other information. There's other information in here, and I think this is also the area that I've listed down here, the infrastructure piece. So the digital divide really has two meanings that are really, I think, distinct. That it's almost not even. One is like I think Aaron was pointing out in the Johnson County piece of extending fiber lines to serve additional households. So the digital divide could be just households where you don't have a internet service provider to sign up to. And so income doesn't matter. You don't have any way to get a wireline connection in your household because the infrastructure is just not there. And that definitely needs to be addressed. If you look at the 9 counties or maybe the 17 counties that might be in the MARC footprint for the Kansas City metro area, bi-state area, that we do need some kind of program to ensure that every household has the ability to subscribe to a service. And then there is the more significant piece of the digital divide is that affordability piece. And if you look at the, there's a link to it in here somewhere, very good report makes it just super easy to understand the digital divide in Kansas City as it relates to economic ability, a household's ability to pay for internet services. And that is this piece that Erin went over early on in finding the affordability side of it. So, okay, third item, the computers must be available at low or no cost to low-income households. So this, really digital equity, digital inclusion has always been called this three-legged stool of access to the ability to subscribe to internet services, have a device that you can use, and then have the training skills and ability to use that. So what we're finding through the work that Jeremy Hegley talked about, and then this digital upcycling program we've had with the city, is that we're able in city government to donate our surplus computers, and so it's a number of types of devices, PCs, laptops, tablets, and smartphones. Those then are refurbished at PCs for People. Initially, this agreement was with Surplus Exchange, then Connecting for Good, and then Tom merged basically, or was acquired by PCs for People. So now it's an agreement with PCs for People. In that Employer Laptop Challenge, just in the last 9 months, we've donated over 1,300 devices from City of Kansas City, Missouri. And as I understand it, we've got, I don't know the number, we have 8 pallet loads more for Tom to come pick up when he wants them. So our folks are working on that. We're trying then to scale that program to include more in the corporate community. The other piece of this digital upcycling program we have at the city is that it's a technology job training program in itself. So a few years back, we were able to partner with Full Employment Council. So Full Employment Council has folks that work at PCs for People in a number of areas, but learning to refurbish and work on computer networking is part of that program. So it's a really nice cycle of that computer going from, say, my desktop at work to PCs for People, where it's securely wiped and refurbished and loaded with the technologies that families need or students might need, and then it's put out in the community and put to work. And then one thing that William Wells at Esteem Village pointed out a few meetings ago was that the students that he's working with, they might be receiving a Chromebook through their school, but they need a PC that can support the software and technologies that they're using at Esteem Village. So there's a need beyond just one device. One device per household, of course, as we all know, is not sufficient. Number 4 here again is that education, workforce development, healthcare, financial literacy. There's so much that can be blown up out of this. It's really where the internet, the computers, the devices needed to use it, then goes on. Really, that's where economic mobility starts, and this is where the diversity of our membership really explodes as well, because I mentioned the Full Employment Council. In the pandemic, they had to scale back the size of their computer lab, where they used to just have people, you're elbow to elbow at the computer lab getting the training that you need. Well, they had to socially distance that lab, probably cut the occupancy to a quarter of what it may have been. and then push their clients to a distance learning situation. They've built the cost of a laptop into their education programs so that when someone gets training, they get a laptop, but then, you know, they don't have access at home. So there's the concept now of you know, tying this internet services to that. We've had a lot of talk about the Tech Access Hotline, the Digital Navigator program. This is really there's a lot to talk about here, but libraries across the country working with the National Digital Inclusion Alliance have put together this Digital Navigator program. Wendy Pearson and folks here in Kansas City have been integral in developing that program and implementing that. And then partnering with this Missouri Broadband Resource Rail is really taking this to the next level. And I mentioned KC SourceLink. If this broadband resource rail builds out in that same way, then this engine can become a national model. SourceLink markets and sells and supports their resource navigator for entrepreneur support organizations nationwide. So that's you know, something to continue to look at. Item 6 here, just research data analysis. These are, of course, critical to identifying where the problems are and how we can solve those problems. This is where this link I talked about to the KC Connectivity Report is located. And then some federal level items, this FCC's Lifeline program, that is, I think when you look at digital inclusion policies across the country, that item is highlighted pretty regularly. And then number 8 here on the FCC's definition of broadband, there is also a lot of conversation about changing that definition so that it is more actually providing the reliable high-speed service that we're finding that folks need. And then beyond the pandemic, these speeds, you know, if you have multiple folks in the house, you know, going to school, working, shopping, you know, whatever, watching TV, devices, there are a number of ways to add up the megabits per second that you need, but we don't do that with electric service anymore. I mean, you know, when electricity first came around, 30 amps was fine to turn the lights on back when you called it the light bill. Today, there's like no debate that I'm building a new house, I'm going to put a 200 amp electric service in that. Do you run 200 amps? Not really, but you want that capacity so that, you know, I'm sure we've all seen it. I've almost got to the point now where I can tell you who your internet service provider is by the quality of your video and audio. So that conversation, you know, something to look at. And then number 9 here, Lean Lab has been doing such an amazing job with this Bridging Barriers report. I really just cut and paste the recommendations out of the last page of that report in here. So, you know, it might need some editing, or maybe we just need a specific policy related to education, because there is some overlap with what's being discussed in these recommendations with the other, you know, 8 that I have here. And then item 10 there. So that's, you know, maybe a bit more long-winded, but anyone have comments on what I've run through?
Yeah, Rick, this is Mike with Spectrum. I think on a couple points that you've got in here regarding the speeds, I don't think anyone would disagree that, you know, 25.3 probably isn't overly sufficient. The thing I wonder is by stating, you know, asymmetrical speeds or 100 over 100 specifically, I think you start getting into not being technology neutral on that. Many providers right now offer, you're with asymmetrical speeds, you're talking about fiber to the home specifically. And, while we do that, like for instance, Spectrum, we do that occasionally. Our network is, can offer up to a gigabit down. But as far as upload speeds, it's usually about 35. I don't think anyone would argue that our customers have issues being able to do the things that they need to be able to do with those speeds. And so I just, I know there are other providers that probably even can't offer that as well. And so that's one thing I would say about just recommendation to try to be more technologically neutral there.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mike, and I've seen that come up in a bunch of different conversations. This that I've clicked on is this report from Broadband Now, and they're recommending this 100 down, 25 upload. So it does, I think, might get to addressing what you're talking about. What I'm concerned about is that if we're using these numbers to talk about federal funding and subsidies to ISPs, that we really should be looking at, I hate to use the phrase, but like future-proofing the infrastructure that's being built. So just extending technology that may not be sufficient now with federal funds might not, be the best way to go. But that's where I was coming from, and I kind of threw it out there just to spark this kind of conversation too. So I appreciate that. So, and again, this, I don't think I made it clear at the beginning. I have tried to make it clear up here. Maybe not as clear as I'll make it now, but this is, a draft. And a lot of you have known me a while, that I'll throw something out and let 200 people look at it and tear it apart, add content. Main point that I want to make is that I'm trying to build empathy for folks living in the digital divide, but I don't live in the digital divide. And I think a lot of us here, we might be service providers that have more of a connection with what the needs of our students, households, families are. So that's, when I'm, if you see something here that is maybe tone deaf to the real issue, then I have no problem with you, calling me on it, and let's put it in the document, make this thing clear. So I think the overall goal that I would have is that we come to some point of, calling this maybe version 1.0, and then publishing it, and then having coalition membership endorse this, or come in and utilize it in conversations that we're having. And then you just maybe look at it as a working document that we can revise this over time. But we have just a few minutes left. Are there any questions on this before I jump to the last item quickly? Okay, so the other item, and I got to jump out of this, I think, to find it, is this FCC request for comment, and let me find it here. Yeah, and comment on how this broadband benefit will be distributed. And what let me see where I'm sharing. What I'm finding is that it? Sorry. Yeah, this is it. Okay, can folks see this document? So this is been published by the FCC and Wireline Competition Bureau seeking comment on Emergency Broadband Connectivity Fund assistance. So I mean, it's quite a document to read through. Benton Foundation has written their review of this, I believe, and I might have a link to that. Yeah, this document here. You might read this one about the broadband benefit. The concern I have is that the funding is available only to internet service providers that want to participate in the program. A $50 a month subsidy to households is proposed. And then, like I say, that would go to internet service providers. I think that on the quality of service provided, I believe it's clear, again, they're using this phrase broadband, that they're talking about customers being served with the 25.3, internet speed. But the challenge that I think that I think we could comment on would be that maybe that funding should be managed by nonprofits or local government organizations or other regional organizations like KC Digital Drive in the way that they're developing that internet assistance program. Because as Aaron pointed out, they're looking at serving the needs of households, and they're paying everything from wireless bills to wireline bills. Again, as Aaron said, provider agnostic, and then building a platform that is making that possible. So that I'll throw that out, might be one comment. This is due, comments are due by February 16th. On the NDIA member call yesterday, NDIA is forming a document, so there is also the opportunity for, say, our organization to sign on to that document and comment on that. So we can share a link to what they're developing. So that's kind of real brief on that. Does anybody have any questions on this this document? All right. Well, so back to the agenda. I think what do we have as the last item there? Announcements. I think we kind of went through that maybe on the introductions. But if someone does have let me see. Yeah. Any announcement or community happening they'd like to share quickly, please jump in.
I don't have a happening, but I would just reiterate that we lost our Spanish-speaking digital navigator. So if anybody knows someone who speaks Spanish and is looking for a part-time job, the Internet Access Support Program would love to have you.
All right. Okay, well, our next meeting is Friday, February 5th, 2021. And that is right on time, right? Thank you. I'll give you your time here at noon. So thanks everybody for joining. And again, if you have any questions on this, email me and we can keep communicating about it. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us.